All right, here we go. A new nation. Back to the interactive notebooks. So we're looking at the Constitution, President Washington, and moving towards the idea of expansion from the Atlantic Ocean all the way to the Pacific Ocean. So what we're doing is we're kind of foreshadowing what idea? That's right, manifest destiny. That's what we're going to be talking about in the future. And that's what's all these events that we're talking about in this chapter are going to lead up to. So let's get started with our new nation. So I thought we'd start with some of the major events that took place during this time period of American history. Here we go. 1789, George Washington becomes the first United States president. 1791, the Bill of Rights is added to the Constitution. 1794, the Whiskey Rebellion. In 1798, the Alien and Sedition Acts and the XYZ affair. Now, every single one of these events have an importance to American history, have an importance of where our country will be moving in its founding years. All of these are super important to where we come from. Now, here we have a picture of Washington being inaugurated as the first president. And as we go back over these events, think about the Bill of Rights. We talked about it already a little bit. Those first 10 amendments, how important they are to who we are as an American people. You must know the Bill of Rights. You must know what they are. You must know what they stand for and why they're important. The Whiskey Rebellion, we'll talk about that. The Alien and Sedition Acts, we'll talk about that. The XYZ affair, very interesting. So let's take a look at what President Washington did during his presidency. First, he established many precedents. Precedents, these are going to be things that stand for a long time. Ideas, they're going to be rules that are just going to be a part of who our president and the office of president are moving forward. Calling the president Mr. President. That was an idea of General Washington himself. He created the first cabinet. The cabinet, these are the advisors to the president. We've talked about the advisors, who they are. A lot more cabinet members now than there were back when George Washington was our first president and when he created the War Department, which we don't have anymore, but Henry Knox was the first Secretary of War. The Treasury Department, we still have this. Alexander Hamilton was the Secretary of the Treasury. That is why if you pull out a $10 bill, you see his face on the front and the Treasury building on the back. The State Department, we still have this as well. Thomas Jefferson, Secretary of State. And last, our Attorney General, we still have this, Edmund Randolph. So this was the first cabinet that would advise the president. All of these men had different jobs and different responsibilities to the president. Next up, the first Congress. What did Congress do? The Judiciary Act of 1789. This established the court system in the United States. Now you might say, I thought the courts were set up by the Constitution. Now there is an article, Article 3, that talks about the judicial branch, but it wasn't until the Judiciary Act of 1789 that the judicial branch is really laid out past the Supreme Court. So this gives the Supreme Court, circuit courts, and district courts and how they interact with each other. And in 1791 again, the Bill of Rights is added to the Constitution. So it wasn't right away, it took some time. If you think back to when we discussed the Constitution, George Mason was a proponent for a Bill of Rights. Originally there was to be 15, but it was only amended to 10. So the Bill of Rights are very small on this slide. And that went very fast, so I'll go back. So the First Amendment is freedom of speech, religion, peaceably assemble. Amendment 2 is a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Amendment 3, no soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. Amendment 4, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons and or things to be seized. Amendment 5, no person should be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Amendment 6. In criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed. Amendment 7. In suits at common law where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than accordingly to the rules of common law. Amendment 8. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. Amendment 9. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. 10. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. A lot of information there. You don't have to copy them word for word. Probably should have said that earlier. Get the general idea. What they mean, what they are. So, next, it's our first political parties, Federalists versus the Democratic Republicans. Make sure this chart is in your notes. So this would probably be a good time to pause and make sure you add this to your interactive notebook. So, all right, make sure you complete your input-output, and I will see you in class tomorrow.